The headlines: new figures on absence rates find workers in some sectors taking an average of 18 sick days. Barbados welcomes new direct flight from Colombia, and early sales suggests that Rihanna will have a bumper 2016 tour. Welcome to Nation News for Thursday, December the 3rd, 2015. High absenteeism rates continue to hurt Barbadian businesses, new figures from the Productivity Council suggest. The financial sector was the hardest hit, with the average worker in the sector taking almost 18 days off as a result of illness last year. In the accommodation sector, the figure was about 15 days, and in construction, 10. Economist Nadia Skeet, who coordinated the study, said the absences have significant implications for productivity.
Absenteeism remains a serious national issue and continues to be a great obstacle to productivity, profitability, and competitiveness. We as Barbadians need to realize that workplace absenteeism negatively affects the quality of life we currently enjoy, and it does not say much for our future if we continue in this vein.
Chairman of the Productivity Council, Akintulav Corbin, said stress and diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure may have contributed to the absence rates.
Outside of I think Barbados' unique situation where there are so many chronic non-communicable diseases, the issue of the work environment. If the work environment is a very stressful work environment, that could negatively impact on workers. Right? If you have sick buildings, if your air conditioning units are not serviced regularly, we know Barbados has a high rate of asthma too among young people and older people. So if simple hygiene and wellness practices are not adhered to, that could also create a problem. So as I said, we know stress, as I said, stress is one of the major issues that make people sick, whether personal stress in relationships or workplace stress. So it could be stress even among colleagues, that there are poor relations among colleagues, lateral level. Or if you have poor management, the old dictatorial top-down, pushing without appreciating and being sensitive to needs of workers.
The Auditor General, Lee Trotman, has raised new questions about the credibility of national financial statements. He said the statements presented by government over the last several years do not tell the full story of the country's finances. Speaking at a public lecture on Wednesday night, Mr. Trotman backed up his statement by citing at least one unnamed state agency that has not presented financial reports for up to 10 years. This, he said, was hampering the work of his department.
The auditor carried out his examination into the accounts of government. This is the financial statements produced by the Treasury in order to form an opinion on the fairness of these figures. Unfortunately, there have been a number of issues which has prevented the office from verifying some of the information provided. And there has been some departures from accounting standards, resulting in my conclusion that the financial statements for the last few years do not fairly represent the financial position of the government.
Mr. Trotman renewed his call for his office to be in charge of its own staff recruitment, given its independence under the law, instead of having to rely on central government.
I too have been making this request in my reports over the years, and I would like Parliament to give serious consideration to this matter. So the two issues here being dependent on the entity that you audit for resources and the slowness of the process. Generally, I think that the public service is too large for there not to be more delegation of this recruitment function.
The newest scheduled air service to Barbados touched down at Grantley Adams International on Wednesday night. Avianca Airline brought its first passengers from Bogota, the Colombian capital, at the start of what's planned to be 2 weekly round-trip flights. Minister of Tourism Richard Seeley told a welcome reception that the service gives Barbados access to a large portion of the Latin American market.
The connections that they have, the interlining and the code shares that Avianca does will take us into El Salvador, into Peru, Brazil, of course, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Ecuador, Honduras, Chile, Argentina. And that in itself tells us that we have the whole Latin American route network that is under Avianca that will now be be at our fingertips and achievable through the Bogota hub. So in essence, the deliberate strategy of this government of seeking new source markets for our tourism is actually happening, and happening in a very significant way here.
Avianca's 100-seater aircraft will fly to Barbados on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but Mr. Seeley hopes this will eventually increase to daily flights. The Inter-American Development Bank is reported to have suggested to Barbados that it outsource road maintenance to private companies. The revelation came from the business publication Nearshore Americas as it followed up on last month's announcement that the bank was lending Barbados $50 million for road rehabilitation. Nearshore Americas said that Barbados will now test whether outsourcing road maintenance will work for the country. Nation News has been perusing their project document for the loan, and it says that nearly a third of the paved road network is estimated to be in poor condition as a result of lack of investment and high usage. Barbados has about 115,000 vehicles on its roads, of which 5,000 are heavy trucks and 600 are public transport vehicles. Now, when is the last time you wrote a letter? We are doing so little letter writing these days that, according to the head of the Postal Service, Margaret Ashby, people no longer know where to place stamps when they do. It may seem a small thing, but it can actually cause delays in the processing of mail, she says. So put your stamp in the right place. Ms. Ashby was speaking on Wednesday at the finals of the National Letter Writing Competition held to rescue a dying art. She said the shift to texting, email, and WhatsApp has reduced people's literary skills. Kai Miller of Queen's College was the winner of the competition. Forbes magazine says Rihanna may be on track to have one of the most popular tours of 2016 based on early sales and her track record over the years. Ticket demand is already said to be massive, as secondary market tickets are already averaging $227 across the globe. Rihanna's most expensive stop is set for her March 15 performance at the American Airlines Arena in Miami, where tickets are averaging $305, with the cheapest ticket available for $57. The Anti-World Tour, that is being dubbed, is designed to promote Rihanna's forthcoming album Anti, her first in 3 years. It still has no release date, despite much speculation. In sport, a Cricket Australia 11 reached 245 for 4 in response to West Indies' 243 all-out at the close of the second day of their 4-day tour match in Brisbane. Captain Jason Holder led the regional bowlers with 2 for 41, with Craig Brathwaite and Carlos Brathwaite grabbing 1 apiece as the Windies struggled against a team fielding 6 players making their first-class debuts. Over to the younger cricketers now. Eden Lodge Primary School's kiddie cricketers overcame Wesley Hall Primary School on Monday to win their first ever Scotiabank Kiddie Cricket Festival title at the Desmond Haynes Oval. Both schools had improved on last year's performance when they were knocked out at the semi-final stage. And finally, in the American state of New Hampshire, a police officer on a shoplifting call discovered a woman stealing materials for a child's birthday cake and decided to foot the bill. The Portsmouth Police Department confirmed Officer Michael Kotsonis went to the Ocean State Job Lot store on a report of a shoplifter last week, and employees told him a woman had left the store with cake mix, Crisco, and frosting. The officer was able to identify a suspect, and he visited her home, where he discovered the items had been taken to bake a child's birthday cake. The officer took the stolen items to the store manager and paid for them. He said he does not approve of the mother's actions, but the kid shouldn't have to pay. And that's Nation News for Thursday. For more news, log on to nationnews.com, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Remember to pick up your Weekend Nation on Friday or subscribe to our e-paper.